Welcome in, fans. It's been a minute since we've talked to you, but welcome into another episode of the Two Line Pass podcast. I'm Randon. Here with me, back in action, is Dustin. Welcome him back. The last you saw us was our post game of the disappointing shootout loss to Minnesota, and since then, Dustin's board says it all, guys. We're on a roll. We are on not one win. Not 2 wins, but a 3-game winning streak, beating Colorado, San Jose, and Vancouver in that stretch. Dustin, welcome in to talk about the excitement that's going on in Utah right now.
I feel so happy. I mean, we went through a long stretch there where it was kind of hemming and hawing about whether is this even a playoff team? Like, are we even going to be, like, towards the end of the season? Are we even going to be in the conversation? Are we going to have to make late, trade deadline moves? Are we going to have to, or what are we going to have to do to kind of shake things loose? And it turns out, like, we just needed a young defenseman and a goalie to get injured and just kickstart this engine into high gear. And that's all it took. Like, it's a thrilling, exciting time to be a Utah Hockey Club fan. And right now, the NHL is learning what it's like to get clubbed.
Yep, get clubbed. This is so exciting because we talked about it in a few of the other episodes is leading up to this about how we struck lightning in a bottle for those that first 3 or 4 games of the beginning of the season, and it was so magical, and we've been chasing that high. Well, here it is again. We caught the dragon. We've been chasing the dragon. We caught the dragon, and Dustin, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. I hate to say it, but the turnaround kind of coincides with Ingram goes down, Vejmelka is the undisputed starter, and then Maverick Lamoureux goes down, and lo and behold, we stopped committing 7 penalties a game. Sorry, Mav, but you were pretty bad at that. You know, you're still 4th in the league in penalties, and you haven't played a game in almost a month. But yeah, some of those, it's addition by subtraction, right? You bring in Kolyachonok, and he fills in very well. We even called up a defenseman and grabbed a defenseman off waivers who they haven't played. Because we had Vladislav, who was a healthy scratch, and he's come in and he's filled the role. Bortuzzo came in and actually played well and played disciplined hockey, and they're on a roll. And if you haven't been paying attention, it's not just the last 3 games. Over the last 10, Utah is 7-1-2. They've collected 80. They're 80% in points percentage over that 10 games, and now we are just 1 point out of the wild card spot, the last wild card spot in the West, with 2 games in hand on Colorado and 1 game in hand on who is the Calgary. Yeah, so
Calgary and Colorado are the 2 teams right in front of us.
Yeah, so we are knocking on the doorstep, which we're just about halfway through the season, guys. We're 31 games played, 41 is the full halfway mark. So 10 away from that halfway mark and being right there in the hunt is exactly where we wanted to be. But man, Dustin, these last 10 games have been a lot of fun to watch. Since about November 26th is about when it started, and let's see what that started that game on. Nope, I just lost it. November 26th was the game against.
The 26th was Montreal, a 3-2 win at overtime.
So, and then it was the loss to Edmonton, and then on the road at Vegas. Am I remembering that correctly?
6-0, yes.
Yeah,
correct.
The game that I was at, and it's just a really fun time to be a fan right now. Really fun time.
Yes, super fun, and you just look back all the way back to the Montreal game, like you said, like that's a win, and there's only 3 losses in that stretch, and only 1 of them is in regulation. So there's only 1 game since the 26th. If I'm looking at this right, and I believe I am, there's only 1 game where Utah hasn't got at least a point. And like you said, over their last 10, obviously you can get 2 points a game. Like over their last 10 games, that's 20 possible points. They've got 16 of them. Like that's, if you're reeling in points like that, if you're pulling in 8 points for every 5 games that you play, like you're going to be towards the top of this league in the standings, and you've seen it in the way they've moved up. In the past week or so, we've been talking about, like I said, whether or not this team was even going to be fighting for a playoff spot, and now they've worked their way all the way into the thick of it. And like you said, they're only 2 points. Let's see, they're only 1 point back. But like you said, Colorado's played 2 more games. Calgary's played 1 more game. And if you would have told me at the start of the season that after 31 games, Utah would only be 3 points back of the Dallas Stars, I would have called you crazy. Because like I think all of us thought Dallas was going to be one of the best teams, not only in the Western Conference, but in the entire NHL, just like they were last year. They have been for years now. We're sitting 3 points back of the Dallas Stars after 31 games. Like, if you would have told me that just a couple of weeks ago when we were going through kind of like the doldrums of fall, just I would have called you crazy. And that's where we are. And it's a fun time to be a Utah Hockey Club fan right now. I love it. I am a little sad that not only did the puck drop yesterday so late. It was like a later puck drop than it normally is, 8 o'clock instead of 7. But then it goes into overtime, and by the time that happened, like, it's a little pointless to do a post game now, because like nobody's going to be awake for a post game to drop at midnight, 1 in the morning, whenever it finally hit the airwaves. But I wanted so badly to get on here and talk about that game. I was jacked. I was ready to come talk hockey, because like there's 12 seconds left. We were 12 seconds away from that game being decided by a freaking shootout. And shootouts, they can be fun, but I hate seeing games being played for 65 minutes and then it comes down to which combination of 3 players can deke their way to a goal better in a one-on-one. Like, it's not as bad as soccer, where it's just whatever goalie jumps the right way, what they guess the correct way to dive. It's not as bad as soccer, but I wish they would just go another 5 minutes into of 3-on-3. Just let it be settled by actual hockey. But oh man, like you saw that develop. And just Cooley coming up the left side, Sergachev coming down the middle, and like I don't know about you, but I jumped off my couch like, oh, here it is. Please have enough time, because I believe it was the game before Utah scored. They didn't actually score a goal, but they put one in the back of the net like a second after time expired. You're like, okay, there's enough time. I give that quick glance up to the clock, like, okay, there's enough time. Come on, do it. And Sergachev, like, he didn't gather the puck completely perfectly. It kind of bounced up, and then he had to kind of chop at it a little bit. He got just enough of it to get past the blocker on the left side, and it was exciting. I'm thrilled right now. I'm so happy. Things are going great. I'm rambling. That's how excited I am. I'm rambling. I've got like 3 different topics. Just boom, boom, boom. I'm like ADHD at its peak, but that's how exciting this is. I want to talk hockey.
Ramble on, my friend, ramble on. We'll talk quickly. I don't want to get into like the nitty gritty, like the play-by-play of that game, but there's a few things, and I want to break it down. So Dustin and I and Ryan have a podcast group chat, right, where we talk about the goings on in the league, and then during game day, of course, we're talking about the game as it's going on. And there was a moment, so Utah goes down 2-0. If you didn't watch the game, right, if you didn't get a chance to see it, so Utah's behind 2-0 heading into the third period. And I texted you guys and said, this is a team, meaning Vancouver, this is a team we have to beat to be a playoff team. And I'm beginning to think we're not a playoff team, right? That was when Vancouver's up 2-0. And then Clayton Keller lights the fire about halfway through the third, and then Dylan Guenther nets a power play goal to tie it up. And Dustin sends a text that says, "This is a team that we have to beat to be a playoff team." I think we are a playoff team. It's basically a mirror of my text with just the reverse, that we are a playoff team. Because historically, I'll be honest, guys, I've seen this team where we get down, or worse, we're ahead and lapse, and I just haven't seen that fight to the finish in a comeback, right? Like we've seen them tie it up and stuff, but then it kind of slips away. They gain momentum, and then it's quickly snatched back away. And this was the first time, I think, where we truly, it was a sincere, dig deep comeback. When you score, even you make it a 1-goal game halfway through the third, it's not a position you want to be in, but it really showed that this team does have what we've been saying they have, that next level, that next gear. We're just waiting for them to switch into it. And over these last 10 games, you're seeing that next gear, or you're seeing the gears that were in place at the beginning of the season actually continue to click, and then for one reason or another got derailed throughout. But right now, like, I don't see a trade that is available that makes us significantly better. I don't see an acquisition that's available that makes us significantly better. I think this team, as is, standing pat, we'll talk about it in a minute, but we've got some big guys coming back before the playoffs, assuming we get there. But this team, if you just run with what you have, I think we've got a playoff team. I don't think we can win the Stanley Cup with this team, but we make the playoffs. And first year, that will feel like a Stanley Cup, right? And that was what it was building up to in Arizona. It's building up. And, would they have made it in Arizona? Likely not. Will they make it in Utah? It's still a toss-up. But, man, the way they're playing right now, it feels inevitable that they're going to make the playoffs, does it not?
Yeah, and I completely agree. Like you said, we're going to have some players coming back that I assume you're talking about Marino and Dursey.
Yep.
Two guys that I do not believe are out for the season, but they're still a couple of months away. So they're going to be there. That's going to be almost like a late season addition to this team. The one thing I am afraid of, because like the vibes are vibing right now, right? Things are going good. The team is playing really, really well. What I'm worried about is if Connor Ingram gets healthy, or if Maverick Lamoureux gets healthy, does Tourney put them back into the regular rotation? Put them back? Like, does he give Connor Ingram the number one top goalie position back, or does he do the smart thing and say no? Sorry, Connor. Like, I understand you were our guy when you went down, but Veggie is playing out of his mind. He's a top 5, top 6, top 7 goalie in the league right now. I can't take him. He's our guy now. Like, we'll use you about as much as we've been using Stauber, but we have to roll with Veggie. And I hope he tells Maverick, like, hey, things are really clicking right now. Like, you might be a healthy scratch in some of these games when you come back. Just don't mess with the mojo. I was afraid that he did that. That he was doing that in the Vancouver game. Cole Bagley, he covers the Utah Hockey Club for KSL. He tweeted during the second period that he saw some movement between the third and fourth lines. And I just about lost my damn mind saying, you better not mess with that fourth line, because that fourth line is playing amazing, phenomenal hockey right now. They are, like I've said before, the best fourth line in the league, in my opinion. Do not mess with that. And luckily, Cole Bagley tweeted a little bit later, like it went back. It might have just been like a one-time thing to kind of get lines shifted back into like the correct organization or something like that. But it was a very short-lived change if it was intentionally made. But that I do have that fear because Tourney does tend to kind of mess with line combinations, and I don't know what his tendency is when he has players coming back. Like I assume we're going to get Connor Ingram back. For the last that I've heard is he's just not making the progress that he needs to in his recovery, so he still may be a ways away from recovering, from actually returning, I should say. But I really hope that he doesn't just insert them back into their spot in the lineup, because things are going really well right now, and you don't want to mess with that chemistry, especially in the game of hockey. There's so much back and forth and playing with the same guys that you have on your line, just knowing where they're going to be, their tendencies, what they like, what they don't like, where they want their passes, everything that goes into the intricacies of the game. I don't want that to get messed with. But yeah, I don't see a move that needs to be made, especially when we're going to have two really high-level players coming back towards the end of the season in Marino and Durzi. Just roll with what we got right now, and don't change a thing, Bear. I'm begging you. Please don't change anything. We're going too good right now. Don't mess with the vibes.
Yeah, and that'll be tough. And like you said, the biggest question will be what happens when Ingram gets healthy. And I posted on a Twitter, and I forget her name, but posted when it first broke that Vejmelka was going to get the starts because Ingram was injured. That was the caveat, right? Vejmelka's getting the starts because Ingram is injured. And my comment was, I hope coach makes it clear that Vejmelka's getting the starts, even if Ingram wasn't injured, because Vejmelka has just been playing that good. And that type of, I think, confidence and telling your guy that, I believe in you, that's what I want, is good. Ingram, he's a professional, right? He's got to know the same thing. He took Vejmelka's job. Vejmelka's a higher paid goalie. Vejmelka was the guy, but then had consistency struggles, and Ingram came in and, was a little bit more consistent. Not great, but and we had high expectations for Ingram, and unfortunately he just didn't reach them. Now, can he get his way back? Yes. Do I want to test it? No. I want Vejmelka to get the starts, and Stauber, I will hate to see him go, because if Stauber gets another win and he's 3-0 with the franchise only shutout, it's like, don't want to really send that guy to the AHL, but what can you do?
And I've got to look. I feel like was it him or Veggie where it was Veggie against Colorado where they got like a really late goal,
garbage time
to blow another one. But we were that close to our second shutout of the season. But I couldn't remember if that was Stauber, because I remember, I think Stauber played against the Philadelphia, the Flyers. And got that win. But yeah, that's he gave up 2 in that one, I believe, and a shutout in his other appearance. So he's given up an average of 1 goal per game. Like, your goalies, your netminders are really good if you're sending a dude who's given up 1 goal per game back down to the AHL.
Yeah, and they'll take him in Tucson. I believe he was 5-2 in Tucson before coming up to Utah. So excellent news for Tucson if he goes back. Still no timeline. I haven't heard a timeline on Ingram's return. So no news is good news in that department, and hopefully Veggie can continue to play out of his mind. Now let's go to the next thing, the injury to Maverick Lamoureux. So I want to talk about how important these 10 games have been. There's 11 games between the Colorado Avalanche game and then I believe the Washington game. The Washington Capitals game was the last game that Maverick played in. Right, 11 games in that stretch. Utah goes 3-6-2 in that. They collected exactly 8 points in 11 games, and it's just not good enough. And over those 11 games, Maverick Lamoureux spent quite a bit of time in the penalty box, and not for fighting or anything. 2-minute minors. He's a very young, very raw talent, and I think he just needs another year or two to truly develop into the greatness, because we see the greatness. Like, right, obviously the coaching staff sees the greatness that's going to be Maverick Lamoureux, but it was a big ask, right? It was a tough ask to ask him to come in when he did, and he's had some brilliant moments, but he also leaves himself in position to get beat, to have to take those penalties. And a lot of those stupid stick penalties Utah's taken all the time, but Maverick tended to take them because he got beat. And that's the one thing you don't want to see as a defenseman. But it's the conversation that hopefully Tarigny can have. They say he's a relationships guy, that he has a great relationship with the players. So he has to be able to say, Maverick, You're a professional. You got to know that right now the team is playing well, and I know you don't lose your spot to injury, but your replacements are playing better than you, and they have right now your upside, with the exception of size. Well, Bortuzzo is about the same size, but it's Mavericks, one of the bigger defensemen in the league. But they have your upside outside of size, but they don't have your downside in terms of your sitting in the penalty box. And that killed Utah over that stretch. That just killed Utah. Everybody said it. Everybody saw it. You can't take 4, 5, 6 penalties in a game and expect to win. So when guys come healthy, hopefully the ones who have been underperforming, conversations are had. Now, whether Maverick's a healthy scratch or sent down to the AHL, I don't know. Like, I want him to play, so I'd rather him get sent down to the AHL and be a starter there than healthy scratch 20 games in a row. That's not going to help his development. So maybe you do send him down. And then certainly when John Marino and Dursey come back, you're looking at probably Kolyachonok and Valimaki, I would imagine, are probably sitting down, and Dursey is coming in. But yeah, we'll see what happens when those guys get healthy.
Yeah, and Maverick, it was announced late November, like November 29th, that he was going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So we're probably looking at like the very, very tail end of December, the first couple of weeks of January before he even is available to come back. So I guess we'll see in the next 2 or 3 weeks how the team is playing, because obviously things are going well right now, but things could go to hell in a handbasket really quickly. It's a game of hockey. Like, just last night, we saw it. It looked like Vancouver had an attack with 30 seconds left. 18 seconds later, the puck is at the back of their net. So things can turn on a dime, and who knows? Maybe in a couple of weeks we're singing a different tune and say, no, we need to get Maverick back in here. But I really hope that if things are going as well as they are right now, that yeah, maybe. And I think you make a good point. I mentioned making him a healthy scratch, but a rookie that young, you definitely want him playing. So it's probably better to get sent down to the AHL rather than sitting in the back in the locker room with Tuna, just as a healthy scratch game after game. But poor guy sitting there in the back of the locker room being in a healthy scratch, getting paid $1 million to just have his name scratched off a lineup card every day.
What's that meme where he's crying, drying his tears with cash?
Yep. Woody Harrelson and Zombieland just...
Yep. No, and maybe it's not. Maybe just being around the game at the NHL level is going to be better for Maverick. I don't know in terms of the development in what's going to be better for him. I just think for his development, it's obviously better that he plays the rest of the season as soon as he's healthy. For the team's development, maybe that's not the best case scenario. But and we'll see.
What would be better for a player's development? Practicing at the NHL level or playing at the AHL level? I'm not sure what the answer is to that. I have opinions based on other sports. But I can't tie that directly to the NHL. I have seen, like, when sometimes you'll see, like, high school athletes that don't translate to the college game in other sports, basketball especially, because they're just so used to being by far the best player on the floor, the best player on the field, that they develop some bad habits and they don't learn how to properly beat other players because they're just bigger, stronger, faster. I can just get by you, where you're not learning how to beat players who are at the same skill level as you. So I could see an argument for, maybe it's better to practice with NHL talent than play with AHL talent. But I do trust the franchise to make the right choice there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think especially Bill Armstrong's going to do what I would assume he has a say in this in terms of where the organization is going, what he plans to do move-wise, where his players are and development, and the timetables for that development. He has to be in the know so that he can decide what his GM moves are going to be based on a player's readiness and talking to his coaches. And hockey is just like any other sport. You talked about it, and look up the like the G League and the NBA right now, and baseball too. Like, there is some great talent in the minor leagues, but overall, there is a massive gap, even from the next level minor league to the NHL. And just like any sport, that gap is quite large. Even though it doesn't seem like it can be that large, it is quite large overall, right? There's players, individual talent that maybe is on par, but overall the talent differential is just crazy. It's like, it reminds me of the old joke that people used to say that the best college team could beat the worst NFL team. Not in 100 tries. Not in 100 tries. Like, it's just the professional talent is just that much better. And so we'll see what the coaching staff and GM Bill Armstrong decide to do with Lamoureux. But moving aside, I want to talk about the season as a whole, stepping back and talk about just how special this 10-game stretch is on, and if we can continue this. So Dustin, like I said, 31 games in. The first 21 games, right? That painful 21 games, 8 wins, 10 losses, 3 overtime losses, 19 total points. Goals for 57, goals against 67, and we get outshot by 3 goals a game, and we actually, some close games, only get outscored by about a half a goal every game, but we are leading the league in faceoffs, so that's good. But 19 points, 21 games. Now, over the 10-game stretch we've had, 16 points. So 11 less games, and we're 3 points away from matching our first 21 game total. That, to me, I'm happy, but it also makes me sick to my stomach a little bit. So we're 3 points away from tying our first 21 games in terms of points. And then we are outscoring our opponents by more than a goal and a half. 3.7 goals for per game, 2.2 goals against per game. In that same stretch, it was basically reversed, not as many goals against, but 2.7 goals for, 3.1 goals against per game. And we are outshooting our opponents, which is, I didn't think it was possible for the Utah Hockey Club to outshoot their opponents. But on average, just shy of 30 shots per game, and we are allowing just over 25 shots per game. We are losing the face-off battles, though. But I'll tell you what, Dustin, I'll take it. Another amazing thing, which is contributing massively to this success in this 10-game run, something, again, that we pointed out time and time again. Power play percentage in this 10-game stretch, 29.6. That will put you among easily the top 10 in the league.
29.6 would be third in the league right now.
Yeah. So
Tampa Bay is third in the league, and they're 28.7. And you mentioned power play goals. There was a stretch there where I was like tweeting after every single power play, like Utah is 0 for their last 15, 0 for their last 16, 0 for their last 17, just again and again and again. And we made jokes about, can Utah decline the penalty and just stay 5-on-5? Utah, with how good they have been lately, they have clawed and climbed their way all the way to the 15th best team in the league right now, season long. 15th best in the league in terms of power play percentage. Like, they've clawed it all the way up to 21.6%. It's still 10% behind Winnipeg, who's at the top of the league, but it's been impressive to watch that climb. And just, I mean, they're learning. I mean, I mentioned in the last Tuesday night episode, Wednesday morning release podcast, just the weekly, the combo weekly and Minnesota post-game episode that we did last. I mentioned that they're listening to us and they're starting to move around and create the lanes instead of just staying stagnant. But another thing that they added last night is they were having a really hard time getting anything past the quite frankly, should have been an illegal brick wall that Calgary put in front of their net. So what do? They're like, all right, we're just going to start bouncing pucks off of your players. Like Gunther, just madman genius. Like, I'm not even going to shoot this at the net. I'm going to shoot this at your dude and bounce it off of him into your net. And just, they're finding so many new and creative ways to score in the power play that now they're just bouncing pucks off of opposing players. They're playing pool or croquet, just bing bing, just I'm gonna bounce it off this. They're doing trick shots on the ice. Mm-hmm. That's how good Utah is. They're doing trick shots on the ice to score in the power play. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's what you got to do to beat Thatcher Demko. He's healthy now. He hadn't been healthy for a bit, but Vancouver got him back, and that's, we talk about how good the West is in terms of goalies, and that's what you have to do against the elite goaltending in the West, is you have to find ways to score in possibly unconventional ways, right? Because you're not always going to get the perfect setup. You're not going to just get, and even when you do, the elite goalies might find a way to rob you. Just, we've seen Vejmelka rob a few people, and Utah's been robbed a few times. But yeah, Demko played out of his mind, and that's
he
what
did that
expect.
3 or 4 times last night. There were times where I was 100% sure we were scoring,
mm-hmm.
and then Demko's just magically there. Like, he just teleports from this side to that side to get his blocker in front of a one-timer. And there were at least 2 or 3 instances I specifically remember where, like, I jumped off my couch thinking we just scored, and they're like, how did he stop that? How did we not score there? Like, I mean, I don't feel bad about the shots that go off a defender, about don't take my Gunthers not getting a real good shot off and kind of getting it elevated, and it ricochets, and just kind of like seeing eye dog finds its way in there, because Utah created a lot of really good opportunities that he's stuffed. He's like, okay, well, we'll just hope to get some lucky bounces, and they went Utah's way last night, but that was a damn good performance from Demko that people are going to probably overlook because they lost. I think it would have got a lot more run had they won that game. But I'll definitely give him his flowers. He earned that. He was phenomenal last night, and
yeah.
it took those types of bounces to beat him.
Yep. It was absolutely stunning. And on the other end, Vejmelka played very well. Didn't face nearly as many shots, but played. This is the type of goaltending that we want to see in terms of what we expected out of Ingram. Right? Is keeping Utah in a position to where even down by 2, you're still within striking distance. Right? We've seen them get down where it's you're starting to get out of reach, 3-4 goals now, but. He's putting him in a position to never let the game get out of hand, and the offense has really stepped up. Right, Dylan Gunther now tied with Clayton Keller at 30 points a piece on the season, followed closely by Logan Cooley at 28. Nick Schmaltz finally putting some pucks in the back of the net. He's at 25, and then 5th is Sergachev, and then Kesselring. So our defensemen, I think there was some stat like when a defenseman scores for Utah, we're like 8-0, 9-0 now, or some ridiculous stat. When defensemen score, we're in a good spot. But right now the team is just firing on all cylinders. It's exciting to watch. The offense is clicking, special teams is clicking, goaltending's clicking, defensemen clicking. Couple of turnovers, especially in the neutral zone. If I was going to nitpick, if I was going to say, okay, stop the optimism train, right? Like, what's your cause for concern? Because it can't be all sunshine and rainbows. The only big thing that I'm seeing right now is, and I think it's a transition, I've seen less big long stretch passes, which was all they did in the early season, where they're trying to ice the puck but stop it. I mean, just stretch passes is all you saw. Now they're starting to carry it into the zone, but what you're seeing is sometimes they get it into the zone and then they quickly turn it over, which leads to an odd man rush the other way. And then we struggle to clear the defensive zone, sometimes at critical times, but luckily over the past 10 games, we haven't had to pay the price for that. It's just sometimes you guys get caught on the ice for too long, and especially when you're sloppy entering the offensive zone, that's when, so look at the goal where Nick Schmaltz gets beat. Nick Schmaltz is trying to go off for a line change. There's a quick turnaround, and now he's got to come back and try to defend, and he's just gassed. He's not going to catch the guy. Maybe you take a penalty there, but that's what you see a lot of with this team, is because they turn over the puck in the offensive zone right after they enter the zone. But overall, I'm excited to see that as a problem, because we were struggling to even get it into the offensive zone with all that stretch pass crap they were doing. So it's a good problem to have. They just need to identify and clean it up in practice and through repetition.
So what do we have coming up next, Randon?
Oh, we got a good looking schedule coming up. Let me get to it, because Christmas time, guys. You remember this thing? If you don't celebrate, well, what can you do? But we got Christmas coming up, so we're going to be taking a little bit of a break. But coming up on Friday, we have the second in the series against Minnesota. We fly out to Minnesota for Friday's game. Dustin may have a post-game show for that, but
I'm going to do my best.
Minnesota's one of the best teams in the league, but they are on where Utah is on the up. Minnesota is maybe on the downstroke since they played Utah, which everybody knows. You play Utah, you don't escape easily. Oh no! Your record against games after Utah, no bueno, my friends, no bueno. And so I hope that we can go sneak one away from Minnesota, and then we play a back-to-back
since
home.
They stole that one from us.
See, exactly, guys. Play in Utah. We're the physical team, the hard-hitting Utah Hockey Club. We're going to wear you down. Well, we'll wear you down by letting you skate around. But then we do we're back at home for a back-to-back, two of the first three in the home stretch against Anaheim and Dallas. We will be doing a Sunday post-game show on, that's a 3 p.m. Mountain Time game, guys. 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And then the Monday game against Dallas, we'll see if we're able to do a post-game show. And then we got a little bit, maybe some Christmas excitement coming at you on Christmas Eve. But we hope you guys enjoy the Christmas holidays and enjoy the games coming up. I have Utah going 2-1 in that series, and hopefully we beat Minnesota and Dallas, and maybe we lose to the Ducks. But 2-1, and I think we're sitting pretty on that 3-game stretch.
I would agree with that. I might flip-flop Minnesota and Anaheim. I would obviously rather beat Minnesota, but I think we beat Anaheim. And then hopefully I didn't think this would be possible at the start of the season, but maybe a win against Dallas bumps us ahead of them in the race for the playoffs. So it's very exciting times. I'm looking forward to it. Like Randon, like you alluded to, I'm going to do my best to put out a post-game Friday after the Minnesota game. I know Randon's not going to be available. I don't know about Ryan. He's hit or miss these days, so who knows?
It's out of mi madre's birthday party, so we'll be watching the game with her, but we will be celebrating with her, so we won't be able to do a
okay. Well, then I will do my best to fly solo and learn the new software that we've acquired that Randon so politely acquired for us. I will do my best to put out a post game for Minnesota, and if not, you can send all your hate mail, all your tweets, all your angry tweets to me on Twitter, and I will not read them. So.
Yep, at Highlights Ute and at TLP Randon. Send your hate mail. Hey, if you're an aspiring editor, you wanna create YouTube edits for the rest of your life. That's your goal in life. Hey, why don't you hit us up? We got a potential opening, because the guy who does our editing right now, cough me, cough, is not great at it. He's not great at it, but we're looking to get this production value a little bit better for you guys. We feel like we've done a pretty okay job bringing you this content, and I appreciate, Dustin, you taking the time to talk to us today. And guys, thanks so much for listening. We got some big hockey to be played. Dustin,
I have one more thing. I want to start some with Arizona fans again, because I've seen some complaining on social media. And the other day on, I believe it was TikTok, it was either TikTok or Facebook, I saw a comment about, you need to send the team back to Arizona. I have a brother who's friends with Josh Doan, who says he's already missing Arizona and he wants the team to come back. He's playing in Arizona. He plays for Tucson. He's in Arizona. You lying, lying liar. Stop lying. You deserve to lose your team. We love them and they're winning and you're jealous and I hate you. Stay in Arizona. It's hell on earth. Goodbye.
I wonder what if you listen to the clips of the overtime winner Sergio puts in the goal. The Delta Center was rocking. It was rocking. I wonder what 4,500 people in Mullet Arena sounds like. I mean, it's probably a shoebox of an arena, so it's probably loud because it's so small. But come on, guys, you had your chance, missed out. I'm sorry. What can you do? Arizona, you got a basketball team. You know, you'll have a baseball team for a couple years. We'll take that one too. Nobody likes the Diamondbacks, not even you guys. Arizona, you don't even like your own sports teams. You only like
Nobody's liked the Diamondbacks since Craig Counsell was back there with his goofy hands in the air stance. Screw you, Arizona.
Remember when
your
Randy
freaking
Johnson?
College barn probably sounds a lot like when you and I went to a Utah Grizzlies versus a Las Vegas Wranglers game down in Las Vegas, and you were able to have a shouting match and get in a fight with somebody across the damn ice because it was so damn quiet. That's what Mullet Arena sounded like. That's what your freaking college barn sounded like. Keep them up here in the Delta Center where they're appreciated. I don't know if you read all the comments from Keller and from Tourney talking about how awesome it is and how good it feels to hear that crowd and to see the support and to look over at Ryan Smith jumping out of his chair to celebrate that goal by Sergachev to win it. How they finally feel appreciated here in Utah in the Delta Center. I love it.
You cannot say they're not better off. And Arizona fans, come on up. Like, you're welcome to get on. I don't know why you guys threw your fandom away. Like, you guys just threw it away. It's the
same team.
Yeah, you disgust me. You disgust me. It's easy for us to throw away our fan, which also Utah fans, none of this crap where you don't change your allegiances. I'm over it. Vancouver fans don't travel that well, right? That's people in Utah who are like, I finally get to see my team play. No, your team is Utah now. You have a local team. Cheer for them. And Arizona fans, you come up. We'll let you back into the fold, okay?
Yep.
I won't even make you apologize to me. You should, though, but I won't make you.
I have a hockey friend, Dr. Pat P on Twitter. He took me to a hockey. He took me to the Carolina game a few weeks back, where the first coming out party for Veggie, where we're chanting his name on the in the stands, like everybody see. Okay, this is who Veggie is. He was an Anaheim Ducks fan, and then Las Vegas got a team. He said, "Oh, that's closer." Now I'm a Vegas fan. Then we get a team in Utah. He's like, okay, now we got a team here. I'm a Utah Hockey Club fan. That's the way you do it. You can move your allegiances around when a team comes closer and closer to you. Now he's got one in his own backyard, and he loves it. And I love that, man. That's how you do it. That's how you fan.
He is a good guy, and we hope to see more of him and new fans alike. Guys, thanks so much for listening. I'm Randon. He's Dustin. For Ryan, who's out and about, we appreciate you for listening, and have yourself a great night.